camera, they can turn off their cameras. But yeah, I just wanted to say welcome again to our final Lunch and Learn of the year. So we started them in January and we've been going all the way now until the end of the year. It's been really nice to get to know everyone through the Lunch and Learn series, and we are planning to continue them into 2025. So it'd be great to get some feedback at the end of the session today about that. Today our theme is arts and culture and climate, and we have Darren from More Music who will be giving us an overview of their work. And we were going to have Uzma from Super Slowway over in East Lancashire, but unfortunately she's unwell. So Harvey is going to be doing a quick overview of arts and culture and how it relates to work on the environment and climate change before we get started with Darren. And then finally, as I said at the end, I will be doing a bit of feedback about the programme over the year and potentially some planning about our themes for 2025. So I will hand over to Harvey, who will get us started for today.
Thanks, Sam. And yes, so my name's Harvey. I work for Ribble Rivers Trust. I'm the Deputy Chief Exec and I'm the Head of People and Learning. So anything to do with education, engagement, events, and arts and culture that we get involved with is my sort of area. So, I mean, I'm not an expert and I'm looking forward to hearing what Darren's going to say, but I also kind of have an interest in this and have worked in sort of with arts and cultural organisations a lot over the years as well. So these are just some thoughts really, hopefully to maybe prompt some discussion, some thoughts and ideas and maybe, maybe a bit of debate as well at the end. So I'm going to just start by, thinking about what do we mean by culture? So this is a definition that's been around a long time, and essentially it just shows that culture is a whole range of things. So it's arts and culture is not necessarily just the arts that we might think of. It's not just kind of paintings, music, literature. It's kind of everything that we do. So it is kind of really fundamental and kind of underpins a lot of the way we think, a lot of the way we act. And the way we kind of gel together as a society. So sort of linking on that, I've got just a pyramid sort of image here. Now, one of the things that it is driving climate action and it is driving kind of a lot of thinking about the green economy and the green agenda is the economy. So that, that's the thing that everybody always talks about. We have this measure of GDP, which is supposed to show how successful we are as a country compared to others. But I know there's a lot of debate about whether that's the right thing. Should we be talking about that? Should we be looking at indices of happiness or, society and other measures? So the economy is there and it is important, but it's, for me, it's the sort of the top of the pyramid. Underneath that, we've already talked about society. So this is how we all work together and having a healthy and sort of educated and active society is important for having a successful economy. Again, this is the main driver of sort of the climate agenda really, and understanding, and the green movement is that understanding that actually the environment and having a clean, healthy environment is essential. If we don't have that, then we can't have a healthy society, and therefore we can't have a strong economy. But then you might argue then that culture actually is the thing that then kind of underpins and holds everything together. So that is why it's important really that we look at arts and culture and when we're looking at climate action and the things that we do, and why we try and weave it into the things that we do. So another sort of point of thought really is about culture is, certainly since the Industrial Revolution, we've had this culture of consumption, which again is kind of a well-known idea in terms of thinking about climate change and environmental science and environmental studies. So that's what these pictures on the left kind of illustrate, this idea of the Earth's there as a resource that we can tap into and use. Fast fashion, waste, overconsumption, this kind of throwaway society. So that's the kind of culture of consumption that's fueled by big companies and this traditional idea of the economy as being the most important thing. Whereas, perhaps we need to be thinking about this big transition towards a culture of more stewardship and a culture of sort of being at one with the planet and being at one with nature. So again, that is what those pictures on the right-hand side sort of point towards. So where does arts and where does culture fit in? How can we do this? It's a massive change. We know that we're trying to change hearts and minds, aren't we? We're trying to change a society and a culture that's been around for a long time. So this is where arts and culture come in. They're very important because how we speak about things sort of then informs how we see it. So if we're trying to change people's minds, how we present things, how we talk about things, the stories that we tell are important for changing minds. So that's just a key point to think about. So I've got some examples here. I know Darren's going to be talking about music in particular, so I've tried to look at some other things. So where do we see these kind of ideas in literature and maybe in films as well? So this is obviously quite a famous book by Cormac McCarthy, The Road. So this is all about a post-apocalyptic society where nothing is growing, society's broken down, and it's exploring all those ideas really. So as well as it being about survival and in the end, when the boys kind of find some people who have got this sort of area of land that is growing and that is sort of regenerating. A lot of the story here is about that struggle, and it is kind of that dystopian novel that's a warning for the future, really. If we don't sort of look after the world and think about what we're doing, this could happen. We don't know what the apocalypse is in this story; it's never told, but we do know that there's sort of fires and um, and um, and things that are disintegrated. Is it nuclear war? Is it just sort of a dust bowl type situation? We don't really know, but it's there in the literature, and there's lots of stories. The other sort of quite well-known example I would say is the Grapes of Wrath again. So this is kind of Dust Bowl America, where you've got people wandering around looking for work. Nothing's growing, there's no work, and again, sort of society's broken down. And how we can how we would respond to that. It's got again sort of echoes and mirroring what's happening now in terms of migration and do we welcome migrants? Do we turn our back on them? There's sort of very similar things discussed in this novel as well. And then some perhaps some more maybe not as well known or not as obvious ones, maybe, I don't know, but quite a lot of the kind of children's movies now are doing it as well. So Moana, there's like lots of hidden messages in there, but you've got the sort of the heart of Tafiti, which has been stolen. So again, kind of taking things from nature, stealing things. You've got the idea of the people who've kind of lost their way, and a lot of the stories about how we kind of find our way back, to how we should be kind of living. There's the whole thing of again nature kind of breaking down and things stopping growing because of the problems that have been caused by the heart of Tafiti being stolen, and then everything comes back to life. So there's loads of kind of nature and things in there. So that's a really kind of good one for children as well. And then the other one, which you may be aware of, is Frozen 2. Again, not necessarily something you might think of, but there are lots of kind of environmental messages in there in Frozen 2. So it's all about the sort of history and where the powers came from. The powers came from nature, and the key part of the story is this dam that is kind of that's disconnected different communities. It's sort of a barrier. It's the kind of thinking about modern things, it's like geopolitics and who's got control of the water, who's in charge of nature, and loads of sort of different things that it explores there. And again, this idea of working with nature and things like that. So it is there into kind of mainstream arts and culture, and it is quite powerful in terms of changing minds as well. But anyway, yeah, there's just some thoughts that I've pulled together really this morning, trying to think about arts and culture, maybe trying to prompt some discussion. So I don't know if there were a few nods on there, so hopefully that's got people thinking and will be helpful later on for the discussion.
Thanks, Harvey. Yeah, it was certainly very interesting. I suppose the main thing that comes to my mind is that point around, obviously we're all working in different parts of the environment sector and the environment space, but like you said, if you don't have a hook that you can bring lots and lots of people into it, then you're not necessarily going to be able to create that movement for change. And so that's where, arts and culture and other sectors can be really, we can work together and it can be really beneficial and show a really, really big change. Anyone else got any thoughts on that? Those prompts at all immediately come to mind? I'm going to take that as a no. With those
I would
thoughts
just
that
say,
are, oh yeah,
can I say something?
yes, yeah.
I just think, I mean, if you want to access so people appreciate culture and the good side of life, then children are where it's at because they will absorb much more easily than older people. And I've taught for years, and the wonderful thing about children is they're a captive audience. So if you can encourage perhaps in the teachers of the future to educate children, whatever is happening in their homes, they can be encouraged to think about a more climate caring approach to life than perhaps the parents have been given. So I do think we need to, target, I think the youth, that's just my view, for everything. Because they are the future, whether we like it or not.
Oh, thanks, Grace. I think that's a really good point. And I think, it goes back to the point that Frozen and Moana, and even, when you were just showing the two Disney films there, I remember even Ice Age, which is what, like 10 years old, 15 years old, and Ice Age, especially Ice Age 2, which was all about what happened after the Ice Age, or the ice was melting. I think that was very much appealing to a wider conversation on climate change, and like you say, trying to normalize it and bring it into homes. I mean, even like Don't Look Up, that was on Netflix a few years ago, wasn't it? That was all about climate change, about sort of changing how people think. So yeah, it's a very good point. Thanks,
Yeah,
Grace.
But
definitely.
a lot of homes might not bother bringing anything in, but schools have to, if that is part of the curriculum.
Mm-hmm.
So the Department of Education can do an awful lot to educate children, hopefully in a more caring of the earth, of Mother Earth environment. That's
yeah. No, brilliant. Georgiana, sorry, you've got your hand up.
Oh, hi. Yes, I am a local artist. I used to run a women's organization before, art organization, and now I'm working with Green Rose, a CIC, which is it works on sustainability, and I'm talking to them to start some programs on education with artists, to build something that we could take to schools and and teach kids through arts and fun, other fun ways about the environment and about sustainability, about energy and all those things. So yes, it is important to reach the kids, but the arts are a really good way of helping, deliver a very, very, sometimes, like, it could be quite a boring subject if you just do statistics and science. And so so you'll hear from us at some point. We're just developing these things at the moment.
Brilliant, thank you. Green Rose, was it, that you are working for?
Yes, there's a Green Rose CIC. I'm working.
Yeah.
I'm doing. It's not an arty job that I'm doing with them, but there's something artistic coming out of it soon because I can't stop making art. So
brilliant, and that's it, isn't it? It's art is everywhere, really, if we look for it.
Yeah.
Harvey.
Yes, yeah. So I was just thinking about what Grace was saying and getting young people involved. I was thinking about it being a kind of a long-term thing. Again, this, I remember being at school in sort of the 90s, the Rio conference and everything like that, 92. and these ideas have been around, but again, it takes a long time for them to gain traction. And there is a lot out there, but again, it's that long-term effort and that long-term input and impact from the arts and culture and changing minds that it does take a long time to do so.
Definitely. So I feel like this is a good opportunity to invite Darren to speak about your organisation. Tell us all about what you're doing and how you're involving the climate in your work.
Great. Well, I'll try my best. I'll see what I can do. Hi, so my name's Darren Leadsom. I'm the Education and Inclusion Manager at More Music. And I'm going to share a little presentation with you, which hopefully you'll be able to see when I just do this. So you can probably see yourselves right now, is that correct? Yes? And now you can see the presentation, but I can't see you. So I'm just going to have to carry on and hope that you can, if anybody can't see what I'm doing or hear what I'm doing at any point, just let me know, because I can't see anybody's faces now. But anyway, yes, so this is my presentation about More Music and what we're doing regarding climate action. So first of all, just to kind of a little bit of context about More Music. So we're a community music charity. We're based in the West End of Morecambe. We were founded in 1993. We've been an Arts Council national portfolio organisation since 2011. So our mission statement is to build confidence and spirit in individuals and community through the creative arts activities, particularly music. So the work that we do is delivering inclusive music sessions with all ages and ability levels. We have an in-house programme in our building. We have a building here in Morecambe, and we also work in schools, colleges, and lots of other settings, working with all types of people, all levels of ability. And it's very much an inclusive approach. It's about working with people on the level that they're at, celebrating their achievements on their level and where they're at, and using music as a holistic tool. So like I mentioned, then our building is a gig venue as well as having rehearsal facilities and workshop space. We also hire the space out. There's actually something hired out upstairs right now. They were just jumping up and down on the floor, so you might have heard some banging just a little bit, and that's what's going on up there. And we have a lot of musicians who perform here through the year, particularly from the world of jazz, world music, folk, but other things as well. And we're also a community festival organiser, so anybody who lives locally to Morecambe might be aware of an event we used to organise called the Catch the Wind Kite Festival in the summer. We've also got an event coming up here called the West End Winter Lantern Procession, which will be happening here in Morecambe in about 2 weeks. So in terms of climate action and more music, why us and why now and why are we doing it? So I think it's probably always been part of our work, really. We're based in Morecambe Bay. Morecambe Bay is a place of natural beauty. The sort of Catch the Wind Kite Festival was something we did for at least 20 years. That always used to involve environmental organisations being part of it in terms of hosting stalls at the event. The idea of wind and kites made people think about nature too. And so it's always been part of the work throughout the years, but I think in recent years we've become much more focused on it. And there's been things happening in the context of the way we work that's kind of inspired that and influenced that. Obviously, one of the big things that's happening in Morecambe, which a lot of you will be aware of, excuse me, is the development of Eden Project Morecambe, which will be coming. We think the last meeting I went to, they said that they think it'll be open for 2028. So it's a big long-term thing. They've been in the area, involved in lots of things in the area for a number of years now. They've been quite a heavy presence around the place. So a lot of people will ask us when we talk about it, do you think it's going to happen? Yes, I think it's going to happen. I've heard enough about it to think it will happen. Because of some of the infrastructure they're putting in place. So, for example, part of the infrastructure is the Morecambe Bay curriculum, which is work they've been doing in collaboration with Lancaster University and Lancaster Morecambe College, to develop a curriculum based around Morecambe Bay about environmental issues, to develop not only the workforce, but also to get children from early years through to primary and secondary thinking about environmental issues relating to the curriculum. So there's a whole resource there on the Morecambe Bay curriculum website, which you can find through the Lancaster University website, which links different elements of the curriculum to specific Morecambe Bay issues, which is really useful. Also, as an Arts Council NPO organisation, we have investment principles which they set out, which we're meant to fulfil as an organisation, funded by them. And one of those is environmental responsibility in terms of how we work, how we operate, the type of projects that we engage in. We have to complete environmental reporting via Julie's Bicycle. That's measuring our carbon footprint on an annual basis. In terms of how we've invested in our staff, all of our staff have completed carbon literacy training with Robin Lyons from Ergon Theatre, which I can very happily recommend. He was fantastic with us. And particularly as he was doing carbon literacy training from the perspective of an arts practitioner, so that was particularly useful for us. We have an environmental action plan that we review twice a year, which covers our programme and our operations, which involves staff members and a member of our board reviewing that report. We're a member of LANDS, which is the Lancashire Arts Network for Developing Sustainability, which involves ourselves and a number of other arts organisations around Lancashire, including people like Lancaster Arts, Horse and Bamboo, Rossendale, Deco Public, and so on. And obviously also we're a member of the Lancashire Climate Action Network. So this little quote at the bottom is kind of what I think kind of sums it up for me, really. It was something I saw in an article in The Guardian about a group of public, it was some public art that was being put up in New York, I think early this year, maybe late last year, coinciding with the UN's, one of the UN meetings regarding the sustainability goals. And the artists were saying they were putting on this public art because they wanted to change how people felt about some of these things and put pressure on the UN to really force through some of the issues. And the quote was, art changes people and people change the world. So for me, that's kind of the key thing about why arts organisations get involved in this kind of thing, because art is the thing that can change how people see the world, and then therefore then they want to change the world they live in. So to sort of talk a little bit about some of the projects we've been involved in recently. So one of the projects was a project called Birdsong, which was part of the Bay Light Festival in Morecambe in 2024. So you can see a picture of it there. Basically, it was in the Winter Gardens in Morecambe, which is a fantastic old sort of 19th century theatre space that's being in a constant state of renovation, but it's really getting close to being to its former glory now, with some really fantastic volunteers involved in doing that. So as part of Bay Light, we created an installation led by one of our music leaders, Ash Murphy, who is also a keen digital projection artist as well. So this was a piece of art where we worked in partnership with Bay Blueprint for Recovery, who are a local environmental organisation connected to the Eden Project, to create sort of a narration about the birds from the bay, to project the birds onto the roof of the Winter Gardens. And you can kind of get a sense of it there in that picture, how big the space is. It's a massive theatre space. So the birds were kind of projected on the ceiling. There was a live band, points for it in the centre of the room that were playing along to the projection. There was also a recorded soundtrack as well. And over the course of the 3 days, there were 6,000 visitors in and out seeing this. And it's quite an interesting thing, thinking about the birds of the bay and thinking about it in terms of the environment. Because of the climate change, the times that birds migrate to Morecambe Bay has changed over the years. So quite literally, the sound of Morecambe Bay has changed because of the impact of climate change. Different times of the year, the bay will sound different because the birds arrive at different times now to how they did before, which I think is quite an interesting thing. I can show you a short video of the bird song thing. Hopefully the sound will be okay, if there is any sound.
I think you need to press share sound on your. Darren, we can't hear anything at the minute. I think when you press share, I think there's a button that says include sound. So you might need to stop sharing and then reshare.
Okay, well, maybe I'll send the presentation out afterwards and there'll be the links to the stuff. But you get a sense from that video, you can kind of see what it looked like anyway. And the sound, just imagine the most amazing music you've ever heard that would inspire you in so many ways. That's kind of what was happening there. So I will move on to the next bit. So that was a great project that we did. Another thing that we were involved in recently was a project called Reconnect, which is something we developed with Lancashire Music Hub. And so this had initially been a project that came out of COVID. It was going into schools and asking children about how they felt about lockdown, how they felt about reconnecting with their friends in school again. And we did that a few times following the last lockdowns. And then we decided to shift it into being a project about the environment and how people reconnect with the environment, how children feel about that. That's something that we did in collaboration with a composer cellist called Maya Buga and one of our songwriter producers, Leroy Lupton. So this was, we worked with Barrow School on this, and Barrow School is an eco school, so they've got their own eco council there, which the children are involved in. So what we did is they created new songs with those children, finding out what the children were really passionate about, finding out the issues that really matter to them. What was really striking about it was that they're not only very knowledgeable about it, they're also very passionate about these issues because this is their future. You know, for us, this kind of feels, maybe for some of us anyway, might feel a bit more abstract, but for younger children, you know, by the time they're like my age, for example, how old am I? I'm 47. So by the time that some of these children are 47, that's, you know, 35, 37 years in the future. The world could be a very, very different place by then. And, you know, they are starting to understand the legacy they have to kind of deal with, the legacy that we've left them with. So you won't be able to hear the video, but I can show you just a little bit of what it looked like. So again, just imagine, you can sort of see from the quotes what the children, these are the lyrics that are on there. Disbelief, disconnected. They were performing outside Lancaster Town Hall, and it was attended as a pop-up performance. They were really keen to perform it right outside of Lancaster Town Hall. And they wanted to be able to write letters to take into the town hall to deliver to the local council. The mayor came as well. Our local mayor is a Green Party politician, so she came to kind of witness the performance as well. And this was driven by the children. The children wanted to do it. We didn't go in there with the idea that, okay, this is what the music will be, this is what the performance will be. We kind of went in there saying, what do you want to say, what do you want to do? And this is what they wanted to do. So it was very youth driven. And it was a fantastic performance, and I'll send out the presentation, which have the link to that video, and you can all watch that. And it's really great stuff. So yes, that was something which sort of showed the kind of passion that young people have got. Like I think it was Grace said earlier on, yeah, getting to the children, speaking to the children, that's really where a lot of this work can be done and will be done. So in terms of the sort of big work that we're involved in now, we're working towards doing an eco festival. Which will be a youth-led sort of eco-festival. This is funded by the Energy Saving Trust Foundation. So this will take place here at More Music on the 5th of July, 2025, in the building and all around the building. We've got lots of kind of space around our building where we can do events, a lot of public space that the council let us use and we can work with. So this will be a climate action themed community festival, which will be free and open to the whole community. The idea is it will showcase how young people feel about climate action and will be solution focused. So the whole nature of the fund that we've got the money for is all about working with young people who face inequality to find out about the climate action issues that matter most to them and to give them the confidence to take action in their own lives going forward. So the event itself will feature live music, obviously, because we're a music organisation. There'll be creative activities, there'll be other arts organisations involved. We think we've been in discussions with different people. There'll be stalls by environmental organisations presenting different interesting stuff. Hopefully the Eden Project will be here as well. And this will be, that event will be kind of the culmination of the two strands of that particular project. So the project will have sort of two elements to it. One will be our Eco Collective, which is our sort of secondary age young producers group, which will be the young people that we'll be working with most closely to develop that event and produce that event. And then we'll also be doing 2 primary school residencies, which will have a sort of a similar feel to the Reconnect project as I shared with you there, where we'll work with young people in those primary schools to find out about the issues that matter most to them and develop creative responses to those issues in a way to develop those emotional connections to those issues. So just to talk a little bit more about those 2 different strands. One is the Eco Collective. So that's our young creative producers group, sort of 14 to 25-year-olds, and they'll be working with us, our More Music team, to develop that event. As part of that group, they learn about the music industry, about events, producing events, and also about climate action from experts. We've got experts coming into the session. This is a weekly session that happens during our term times, sort of a 2-hour session, and they have people to come in and visit. They discuss things. They organise our young people's gigs, which are termly here, and use that as an opportunity to talk to young people as well. They've been out and about taking part in different events. So they went to the Lancashire Youth Climate Conference, which happened at Blackpool Sixth Form College on the 30th of October, which some of you here might have been at, which was organised through LancsCan. They were also invited to organise a youth conversation event as part of Lancaster City Council's Lancaster District Climate and Nature Strategy Consultation, which happened 2 nights ago. So that involved them deciding how to kind of ask the questions, how to frame the event. There'd been other consultations happening with the wider community, but this was a youth-specific event which the Eco Collective were invited to organise. And that happened here, and we had about 15, 16 young people come along. We had a bit of live music, and the young people were able to talk about what they thought were the important issues that the council needs to be thinking about in developing that strategy. And there's a little link there to the Eco Collective to learn a little bit more about what they are. So yes, if you know any young people in the Lancaster Morecambe area and they want to be part of that, that starts again in January. And then the second strand of it will be these 2 primary school residencies. We did a few sort of research and development kind of songwriting sessions at 4 different primary schools over the summer, just to kind of get a sense of what we thought the young people were interested in to help us shape what we're going to do. So when the actual residencies start, they'll take place over the spring and summer terms. One of them will be in West End Primary School, which is very near our building here in Morecambe, and there'll be another Morecambe Primary School as well. And again, this is working with those children to find out about the issues that matter most to them, helping them develop creative responses to those issues. And then the work that they create will be showcased at the event, at the Eco Festival. There'll also be a separate schools performance that will take place in our venue as well for families to come and witness the stuff as well, to see the performances. And the idea is that when people come to that event, they'll get a real sense of like, these are the things that young people care about. These are the things that really matter to them. And also people will come out with the sense of hopefully sort of positive climate action, the solutions they can take, the places they can go to find out information and to be inspired by what they've learned. Because I think the real power that art and culture has in this forum is to create an emotional connection to these issues, to make people think about how it affects people in their lives, how it affects their community. And that's kind of what we're looking to try and work towards by doing this. So that is the end of my presentation. I hope that was okay, and I'm happy to take any questions anybody has. I'll just stop sharing.
Thanks, Darren. That was so interesting. Yeah, just open it up to any questions that anyone's got about the projects, about the organisation.
Well, I'd just say more power to your elbow. I think it's brilliant what you've already done, and I just hope it goes well in July. Because the thing is, if you involve children and say, what do you want? What do you think about it? Sometimes you can be blown away about how strongly they feel about certain issues that we perhaps are oblivious to. And because they've already got this passion and enthusiasm, if you help promote that and encourage them, children can do incredible things. You know, and please just remember that there's other forms. I know music is wonderful, but drama, children who feel passionately and they can act as well, you could have sort of a visual representation of either dance or drama along with the music possibly.
Yeah, I mean, thanks for that, Grace. I mean, what's also interesting, as I mentioned there within the presentation, was the group LANS, the network that we're part of, and that involves organisations like Horse and Bamboo, which is a theatre in Rossendale. Lancaster Arts also are involved in drama, and also Tenderfoot Theatre in Ormskirk, who actually are kind of specifically a sort of climate action focused theatre group. So there's like lots of kind of very specific kind of drama activity that's happening out there. But you're right, exactly. This can be interpreted by lots of different art forms, and whichever way connects with people is the right way, essentially.
But also, if you can get the kids to perform as well, not just watch adults doing it, but they themselves are involved in it.
Yes, definitely.
Because that embeds it in them, sort of.
Exactly, yeah. They don't want to watch me performing, so yes, get them to do it. Yes.
Thanks, Grace. Neil, you've got your hand up.
Yes, thank you. I was just wondering, Darren, how you fund all this? Where does your funding mainly come from, or is it lots of different places? Is there a quick answer? Thank you.
There's not really a quick answer. I mean, it is funded. We're funded in lots of different ways. So obviously, Arts Council is one of our major funders. We're funded by that's kind of mainly unrestricted funding that we get from them. But then we also are constantly fundraising for all kinds of different projects. Like I mentioned there, the Eco Festival project as a whole is kind of funded by the Energy Saving Trust Foundation. That was something we had to apply for separately. We also get money from people like the Francis Scott Trust. Youth Music is a big funder for us. Lancashire Music Hub. We get bits of money from Lancaster City Council, Morecambe Town Council. It's really quite a big portfolio of different funders, and it's a continuous kind of journey to do that. We employ kind of a freelance fundraiser to help us develop stuff. We're always submitting funding applications. We're always looking for new opportunities. And it's having that sort of line where you're kind of looking for things which kind of align with our kind of vision and goals, and not just be chasing the money, if you see what I mean, because they can sort of lead yourself down all kinds of blind alleys. So that's probably the same. That'll be the same for probably all arts organisations, I think, of our scale. It's a continuous journey to find funding and so on.
I was just wondering, I know you said you talked about that you were part of it's a requirement from the Arts Council as part of being a portfolio organisation to have this kind of environmental responsibility built into your strategy. Do you think that the Arts Council do you think the environment is like quite an important part for the Arts Council? Do you feel like they're leading the way to encourage other arts organisations to become more environmentally focused, or do you think it's sort of the other way around, the fact that arts organisations and cultural institutions have become more environment focused and therefore the Arts Council has come with them? I'm just interested to see where the direction's coming from.
I think it's probably a mix of both things. I imagine that, at the end of the day, all of these things involve human beings, and we're all part of the same thing. So probably everybody feels like, all of us in this group here now, we all feel like we want to do something, want to take action, be part of it. And like with us here, we thought, well, what can we do? How can we use what our skills as part of this? The Arts Council would have felt the same way. They would have seen that this is something that needs to be done. They would have recognised the power of arts and culture to do that. A lot of arts organisations will have quite large carbon footprints as well, because the Arts Council will fund major organisations like the Royal Opera House or the Royal Shakespeare Company, massive touring operations and so on. Places that have large cafes and so on that have a lot of carbon footprint of the food they use. So they realise that there's a big impact they can make by sort of requiring arts organisations that they fund go down this kind of route, which I think people are going down willingly. It's just, how sometimes you just need something written down and say, oh yes, we're definitely going to do that, but we always did that anyway. We always wanted to go in that direction. So I feel like it wasn't necessarily, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but to me it kind of feels like it probably came from all sides. I think we all probably wanted to go in that direction. And it's just been put in that kind of format. And if you look at the Arts Council's Let's Create strategy, which is their strategy for arts funding from sort of 2020 to 2030, I'm just trying to remember what century we're in. Yes, so that kind of sort of lays out their kind of funding plans, what they're looking to do. And as I say, there's like these 4 investment principles, one of them being environmental responsibility, which means that we have to answer for it. When we do our reporting, we have to say, what have we done relating to environmental responsibility? And it is more than just running projects regarding that. It's about how we reduce our carbon footprint as an organisation and so on. So yeah, everyone's involved. I wouldn't want to say that one is worse than the other.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting. I suppose I wonder whether more large funders might also at some point ask you to answer those questions about how your work is, what the carbon footprint is or the environmental impact of your work outside of just having that as a theme of what you do. Thanks, Darren. Alison, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, thanks, Sam. That was a great question, actually. Really interesting to see what comes first, the chicken or the egg kind of scenario. Yeah. Apologies for not having the camera on earlier. I was actually eating lunch and thought you didn't need to see that. Great talk as well, Harvey. Alison and Fiona were from the Ernest Cut Trust, and I think, Darren, we definitely saw each other at the 30th of October. I was running around trying to help coordinate the day in Blackpool. Just to say that we obviously do lots of things. So I'm outdoor learning officer in Lancashire. So like Grace was saying, work with the teachers to kind of embed outdoor learning within their schools, link with Ribble Rivers Trust to do all those wonderful conservation days, obviously target the young people themselves, but we also are a grant giving charity, and we're part of a I Will funded project, which I'm sure you've heard of, I Will, Darren, in terms of youth social action. And so we do a blue influencer scheme at the moment. Darren, just 2 quick people, otherwise I can put you in contact with them. I presume you know Morecambe Bay Partnership team. Yes, and do you know Lauren?
Yes, Lauren.
Yes.
I think I've definitely been in communication with Lauren. Excuse me, I've been a bit ill recently. I think she's going to come in and speak to our Eco Collective next term. I've definitely regarding the Blue Influencer scheme. I've also started with aspirational points as well.
Yeah, that was my next one. Brilliant, because Ant's got working with Rylands Primary in Lancaster, and they want to do a Blue Festival. So this is Blue Influencers is for 10 to 14-year-old young people to do climate social action and environmental action. And there are 2 Blue mentors who are within our area. So yeah, I'll put the link actually to the project if anybody wanted to find out more info in the chat. And just to kind of repeat what everyone said, keep up the great work. And we are really excited to hear hopefully the Eden project and how that links in. And we also link with the Forest of Bowland and everything with the national landscapes in terms of working with art and Lancaster arts as well. So yeah, it'd be great to kind of keep connected. But I think it just opens the door, especially to the audience we work with. It's another means of communication, I think, through whatever means of arts, and it can be anything. And that's what I love about it. So thanks, Darren. Great presentation.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's fantastic. And we're hopefully going to be in touch with Lauren soon to set a date for to come in, because it's a fantastic project.
Thanks, Alison. Harvey?
Yeah, just quickly, it's sort of a question for Darren. I mean, Alison's kind of given a few answers to the question as well. But the question is, obviously there'll be a lot of groups who are maybe watching this or on the call today whose focus is more kind of environmental action, but if they were interested in getting involved in sort of arts and cultural projects or events, what would be kind of an entry-level way to do that? So we've heard some support available from the Ernest Cook Trust and other things, but what would you say, Darren? What would be your top tips for a community group wanting to do an arts project, but they might not really know where to start?
That's a big question, isn't it?
I mean, I guess they can ring you, can they?
Yes, I mean, there's that, they could get in touch with, I mean, if they were to go onto the Arts Lancashire website, they can find the lands section, which kind of lists the organisations involved in lands, which is the Lancashire Arts Network for Developing Sustainability. And so there may be local organisations there which they could contact to kind of talk about what they're doing. I think the Lancs Can thing has been quite good for me. Just like being involved in that, you start to make all these connections, all these different organisations, and all these different things happening. That's been really good. I think this is, for me, what's been the best way is things like this. It's starting to meet people, making the connections, seeing what's happening where, and getting the ball rolling that way. So yes, it's for some people who they could get in touch with me, and I could try and either help them or put them in touch with the people. But it's getting involved in the networks, I think, is probably one of the good first starting points, and going to events which will bring people together as well, of a shared mind, and a shared purpose, because then you start to, because I mean, when I don't know how many people they went to the Lancs Can conference at UCLan earlier, I think it was this year, and I was just really pleased that there were so many people from so many different areas of life. I mean, I'm from the arts sector. It's quite, you meet a lot of the same people all the time, but to meet people from sort of the world of business and from politics and so on, and from people from different sides of politics, that I might kind of think, oh, well, I don't necessarily feel the same way as them, but they're still in the room, they still care about these things. And I found that really, what's the right, I don't want to say heartwarming, I'm going to say heartwarming, but a better phrase than that, to kind of feel that so many people feel the same way about these issues and want to do their bit to help. And it's all about us all doing our bits, isn't it? Like, we can't do it alone. So we can only do our own small little bits. So yeah, so that's a long-winded way of saying, yes, they can contact me if they like, but also other networks too. It's a great way to start.
Can I make a suggestion for what it's worth? I don't know if you've heard of Spot On. It sort of does Lancashire. It's used to be Sue. I can't think of her last name. And she was based in Blackburn. I mean, I could go and find the leaflet if you give me a couple of minutes. And she will have access to lots of, she will be in the know, I suspect, because there are a few people who organise things for Lancashire in the arts. And if you just tap into those people, they will be able to help you network and get links. Because that's what it's all about. It's what Darren's saying. It's who you know. If you don't know they exist, and you're sort of floundering in the dark sometimes. So that would be my suggestion. I'll have a quick look and see if I can find contact details for you.
Thanks, Grace. And I think leading on from that point about networks, there is also the local project, which is sort of led by Lancashire CVS, which is all about connecting all 14 districts of Lancashire and the voluntary sector. So I wonder whether they might also be able to support, if you're, watching this back, looking for some support with setting up an arts sort of strand of your work, or a festival, activity, event, that kind of thing. Georgiana, you've got your hand up as well.
Yes, I just have a question about joining LAMS, because obviously I'm working for a non-art organization who is kind of giving me free rein to start doing art events through them, to raise awareness about sustainability and the environment. Do you need to be an arts organization to join them? Because I know with Lancaster Arts, I joined with Villages, but they had to be, you have to be like an arts organization. But
I think I'd have to look. We're a relatively new organisation, and we're still kind of figuring out kind of what we'll be and how we'll function. But I think I can, if I just find the link to it on here.
Or can it just be like a freelance artist and I just join myself with one of those?
I mean, I think so. I mean, I'm looking at it now. I think we're looking to try and work out how the membership structure will work. I'll put this into the chat, and we're going to be having a meeting in January, and it's something I will definitely bring up there to kind of say how can people join, because I think there's a lot of people who will be interested in.
Yeah, are In Situ part of the organization?
Is what, sorry?
In Situ in Pendle?
Yes, In Situ in Briarfield. Yeah.
Briarfield. Yeah, I worked with them for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In Situ are. So I think that we definitely, would want to be open to people joining who are individual artists. I think it's about just having that sort of shared purpose, isn't that shared kind of network to kind of pool our resources, I think is really what it's about. So definitely mention that.
Because that would be I think that would be helpful with a lot of freelance artists, because I've been thinking about starting another organization, but that is like so much work, and it's better just to like kind of focus all that energy in creating the actual events rather than creating an organization so you can join the organizations to just do the work. But thank you for your presentation. It's really it was really inspiring.
Can I just give Georgiana a telephone number? I found the details for you. I don't know if you've got a pen or anybody else who's listening.
Yes.
Because even if they can't help, they will know people who possibly can, because they work with artists, individual artists and groups.
Yes.
So the website is Spot On Lancashire.co.uk.
Okay. Yes.
And the telephone number, it's the Blackburn number. They're based in Blackburn. It's 01254.
Yes.
66 03 60.
60. Okay. Thank
and
you.
If they do have, if you look them up, they'll have an email address. And even if they're 30 miles away, say, I'm here. Do you know anybody who I can contact near me?
Yeah, don't worry. I used to live that way, so I bet I might know someone in there.
You probably do. I mean, it used to be Sue and Rob, and they know everybody because they're in the system. Once you're in the system, you know people.
Yes.
I mean, I used to work in the arts system up in Newcastle upon Tyne, and you just know who to contact. But if you're not in the loop, then you miss out. It's
hard, isn't it? Yes. Thank you very much. I need to go because I need to go and do a call, but it's been lovely seeing all of you, and hope I'll see you again. Sorry. Bye.
I'm muted. I was just saying thank you. So we have got a couple of minutes left. Has anyone here been to any of our other Lunch and Learn sessions over the year, or is it everyone's first time? Haven't noticed any names I recognise. Alison, you've been to a couple. No, you've not. First time. So what I wanted to do was I just wanted to get some feedback about the whole series. But if this has been your first one, then that might be a bit challenging. What I will do is I have got a short Microsoft Forms link. That'd be great just to get some feedback on this as your first foray into the Lunch and Learn series of LancsCan. If you can forward it to any colleagues who are members of LancsCan or have been to other Lunch and Learns, we'll also be sending out to all the emails that we have registered. It's really just to just find out how people have felt, but also try and think about some themes for our next year of Lunch and Learns, basically. Just before we finish, so this year we've had themes on energy, health, transport, wildlife, and arts and culture, which we're doing today. Are there any themes that sort of stand out to you that you'd be interested in hearing about next year, that we can see if there are any members of LancsCan who would, or even Lands who might be interested in presenting? Darren?
Yeah, I couldn't. Yeah, well, there's the raise your hand thing there. I just did it manually.
Yeah.
We've just been talking this morning where we have a venue, and we were just talking about like solar panels and just about how we'd install solar panels in the building. And I don't know whether there is organisations, or maybe it was in a previous talk that I missed. So sorry if you've already covered it, but like where organisations like ourselves would go to kind of get some kind of solar panel assessment or discover how we could make the building less reliant on other sources of energy. That would be something that'd be quite useful to understand. That.
Yeah, definitely. That's sort of like a retrofit energy efficiency sort of theme.
Yeah, something like that would be quite useful.
Yeah, there's definitely some organisations within LancsCan that do that sort of work, and I know even at Groundwork we've got our Green Doctor scheme, and we do retrofit with that as well. So if you're interested, directly, I could potentially put we have got a if you ever go down to Blackpool, I think we've got a drop-in hub at the it's an eco hub at the Palatine Library in Blackpool, where you can find out more about retrofit and energy efficiency. So yeah, that's also an option that if you need some support with that directly, Darren. But yeah, energy efficiency and retrofit, we put that on. Any other thoughts on any themes?
We talked about environmental education, Alison.
Yeah.
So that'd be a good one to do.
Definitely.
Thanks, Albie. With Leanne from Rivers Trust, I'm sure between us all. Yeah, no problem. We've obviously got the funding application with the Climate Action Fund kind of links all going on behind the scenes, of course, with Christopher Dent. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see, I guess, what comes out of those things. I'd probably say, food and farming, we're a farming linked to farming organisation. I think that's always quite interesting, especially to get farmers from Lancashire's point of view across, because being a vegetarian, but also recognising we do need to farm sustainably, and those sheep need eating as well as the cows need milking. I think trying to think of ways to educate people to maybe reduce meat rather than obviously go completely meat free.
That's a really good idea as well. Thanks, Alison. I have just put the link in the chat, and as I said, we'll be sending it out. It's a very short form. It will take you 1 or 2 minutes. It's just sort of, what do you think? How's it been? What should we do next? sort of thing. But it'd be really helpful if you could take an opportunity, if you get the time and you want to feedback how it's been, just take a moment to fill that in. We've had a couple of comments in the chat. So Jane has said that In Situ have done really good work with Pendle Council on the Environment, and they work with young people on the issue of fracking, which obviously is very relevant to us all in Lancashire. So that's really good to hear. And Karen, who's had to leave, said, thanks for an inspiring lunchtime session. Looking forward to thinking more about bringing more artwork into our global learning work at the Liverpool World Centre. Sorry, non-Lancs interloper. So thanks, Karen, for joining us. Yeah, it's been brilliant. As we said, a brilliant year. Thank you, everyone, for joining us over the past year. It's almost December. I suppose you can say have a restful break when it comes over the festive period. We won't say the C word yet. And yeah, we look forward to more Lunch and Learns in 2025. So thanks, everyone. And thanks, Darren and Harvey, for presenting as well.
Thanks, Sam. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.